Ladies and gentlemen, friends and relatives, it is now time for 3 count commentaries. And I am your host, MagMongoSlade. Today we'll be talking about AEW Dynamite for March 22nd, 2023. The if you don't know, now you know edition of this, where everybody watched the show to learn who Vikingo is. I already knew who he was, but we'll talk about that later. That's kind of an important. We'll talk about that later. All right, we only got one note really. Tony Khan flipping out on Dave Meltzer about pro wrestling flights and hotels, which he says he spends millions of dollars on every year. I'm not going to read the tweets because it's not worth it. Apparently, Dave Meltzer talked about wrestling companies not paying for flights and hotels for talent. To which Tony Khan responded that he does, and it's an investment he spends millions of dollars on every year. The issue is it's not really an investment unless you get money out of it. And from what I hear, he spends more money on hotels than most of these people will ever make back. But, that's really unfortunate. Look, I don't have anything against, I don't have like a thing for it or against it. WWE doesn't pay for hotel and travel, likely because they travel more than AEW does. So, are you going to pay for hotel and flights for 300 wrestlers to go around 5 days a week? That literally doesn't make sense. Financially, it makes a little bit more sense for AEW considering they tape a lot of shows at one time. I believe they tape, they were taping like Dark and Dark Elevation, then Rampage, all on the same night and all that kind of stuff on the same night. I don't know what the taping schedule is now, but they were doing multiple shows at one time. Now, I'm pretty sure they still are doing multiple shows at one time, which makes it a little bit easier to do. That being said, WWE, they simply, that cost would be ridiculous. Now, yeah, they would be able to get packages and they'd be able to make it a little bit easier and a little bit less, less expensive. But just multiple times a week just seems a bit much. And your wrestlers seem more like independent contractors when they actually travel on their own, using their own vehicles and their own money, which they, of course, get back or claim in tax returns. So it is what it is. I don't really have anything for it or against it. A lot of people have been making fun of Tony Khan because he pays for travel. Some people have been patting him on the back because he pays for travel. I don't really see it as being that big of a deal. I think it's just, if it's a perk that come with the job, then it's a perk that come with the job. I'm fine with that. I think that AEW needs to have some kind of advantage over WWE. You might not make as much money if you're, somebody on the roster, but at least the guy's going to pay for your traveling expenses. And you're gonna eat decently, so that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. If you're Chris Jericho, you're gonna make great money, and he's gonna pay for your flights. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Chris Jericho kneeling at the altar of Tony Khan. I'm pretty sure that would be a good reason to do so because he's paying you heaps of money and cutting down on your expenses. So no wonder Jericho was Team AEW, ride or die, from the jump. But he probably was the one who started all that stuff. He probably also gets health insurance too, which is also why, we would like to see AEW's expenses. I would love to see AEW's expenses. And then, of course, the question comes in, does he also pay for the flights and everything for every talent or some talents? Or is it, what about ROH? Is he paying for all of those guys too? It'd be like, ooh, that'd be interesting. Very interesting. All right, so let's get into this show. For starters, the red, white, and blue ropes. I always like the red, white, and blue ropes. I would have liked for them to do this for a reason. Like if it was like a 4th of July episode or something like that, the red, white, and blue ropes would have been a really nice touch. It just seemed like they just did it randomly because it's Wednesday and they like to do stuff. So this is fine. So we start the show with an interesting question. There's an ambulance taking away the Young Bucks before the show. Hangman Page offers to jump into the ambulance to ride with one of the Young Bucks. And we're supposed to be left with the question of what happened to Nick and the other one's name. I was about to call him Nick and Mike. Matt. That's his name, Matt. Matt Jackson. What happened to Nick and Matt Jackson? I pretty much guessed it was the Blackpool Combat Club, but it ain't. It's not for sure. Later, Kenny Omega is actually upset about his friends, as he should be. He's worried about them. Don Callis says it might be the best thing that ever happened to them because now Kenny Omega is back in the singles and he can focus on that. That's foreshadowing. So this leads us to, obviously, El Hijo del Vikingo versus Kenny Omega in the Dream Match. So before we get into the match itself, which there's some pretty good stuff to talk about there. Let's talk about the discourse around the El Hijo del Vikingo dream match thing. Everybody flipping their lid, having an opinion. You notice I didn't make a video on it, not just because, hey, I'm going to talk about it during my AEW Dynamite review. It's also this. I know there are a lot of people like on this side of the wrestling YouTube space where we're not exactly as dorkish as the IWC. But sometimes you have to realize when you are a hamster on a wheel. AEW has been in operation for 4 years. Every now and again, they bring in random wrestler and they tell you how random wrestler is so awesome. And then everybody's sitting around like, who? I mean, it was Jeff Cobb. It was Warhorse. It was, this guy and that guy, whether he's from New Japan or AAA. They just do this. They do this stuff. If you were in the discourse, like, who the hell is El Hijo del Vikingo? Ho, ho, ho. It's like, you don't know when you're being played. For starters, when he said put that dream match stuff out there, it wasn't for you. It was not for you. I understood he wasn't talking about me. Not because I don't know who El Hijo del Vikingo is. Not because I don't know when this match was about to happen. I talk about AAA when there's something to talk about. I know who he is. I've watched this guy before. He's tremendous, a tremendous athlete. But I already knew from the jump, not only do I know who Vikingo is, I know why he's about to have a match with Kenny Omega, because Kenny Omega got injured and bailed out of the Triple Mania match, was this like a year or two ago? But also, I knew when he said dream match, he was talking to his audience. He's talking to his fan base. Now, a lot of the WWE or the anti-AEW fans, they poked their heads in and was like, dream match? And it wasn't for you. That's the thing. He wasn't talking to you. You don't know who Vikingo is, so it's not a dream match for you. I know who Vikingo is. It's still not a dream match for me, because I don't have dream matches. I don't know how many times I have to say that on this channel. I don't dream about wrestling matches. All right? I just don't have the amount of time in my day to sit around thinking about, oh, what kind of match would it be? Besides, I already know. I know what's going to happen here. It's the same thing that happens every time they bring in random luchador. Random luchador comes in, does a bunch of flips. Everybody talks about how amazing he is, how fantastic he is, how Tony Khan needed to sign him to a contract. And then he disappears off into the wind, in the mist. And under the off chance that Tony Khan actually does sign random luchador that he brought in, you never really see him again. I mean, where's Bandito? I mean, outside of last week, when the last time Phoenix actually got to get in there and tear it up on a singles match? I mean, Penta, El Zero Miedo, he's been booted to Rampage. And I don't want to disrespect El Hijo del Vikingo, not just because he had a tremendous performance tonight, but he is a tremendous performer. But once you've seen the highlights, you've seen what he can do. I've seen him do this 450, 630 Dragon Rana 100 times, because he literally damn near does it in every match. So it was the same thing when they had Commander, who was another hot luchador. They threw him in that ladder match a couple of weeks back. I knew who he was. I saw him live. The idea that, Tony Khan is going to adhere to basic storytelling, just chuck it in the bin, he's not going to. So if you were, tight-assed about it or whatever, you got to look in the mirror and ask yourself what's wrong with you. Because I knew better. And a lot of other people should have known better. Don't give Tony Khan the time of day. He's trolling. There wasn't no damn dream match. But if it was talking to his audience. And he was trying to hype up his show. He's a promoter. He's promoting this match as a dream match, hoping that people like you who don't know who Vikingo is and are even mildly interested would tune in to see what this guy can do, knowing that he's just going to go out there and do every flip that he knows how to do. That's what these matches are all about. That's what AEW is. Are you surprised? The guy went out there and he emptied the chamber. He did every single flip that he knows how to do on Kenny Omega and still got beat by a bunch of knee strikes. That's the thing why this stuff doesn't make sense, you know? It's like, this guy did a 450 Hurricane Rana. He did this move like twice. He did like a diving Hurricane Rana. He did all kind of sweet 630s through the table, and none of it matched up to Kenny Omega runs across the ring and knees you in the head. So now you got to act like you got shot in the chest. And you drop, literally, there's a botched Hurricane Rana from the top rope in this match that Kenny Omega actually kind of sold, because I think he was actually stunned for a little bit that he actually fell on his head. But that meant nothing. You know, this match only held a lot of excitement if you thought for any reason that Vikingo could win, which, if you know AEW, you know he wasn't going to win. So that was another reason why you shouldn't have been too excited about this. Me, I know who Vikingo is. I know what Vikingo can do. I know what kind of match this is, and I know who's going to win. So why would it's just candy for the eyeballs at this point. There's no storyline to it. You know, you would have to care about, you know, the best bout machine and the belt collector and all that stuff from 2 years ago. You would have to care about that. I don't care about that crap. You know, to me, and you can probably go in the archives of this channel, where I basically said Kenny Omega couldn't work with El Hijo del Vikingo, mainly because I guarantee you Tony Khan didn't want him to lose to him. Because he had that belt, and he was going to have to lose it. Kenny Omega did not lose any of the belts that he had to a wrestler to which the company he won it from. He didn't lose the AAA belt at all. He got injured and had to leave. He didn't lose the Impact belt to an Impact wrestler. He lost it to Christian, who went and lost it to Josh Alexander. They did this stuff to avoid Kenny Omega doing the job. So now they're like, well, we'll just do Vikingo versus Kenny Omega on American TV, where Kenny Omega is the star and Kenny Omega can go over. Wow. Instead of doing it in Mexico, where he might have had to put Vikingo over. Might. Not guaranteed, might. So that's what this was. Not a big deal. There were some really good near falls here, though. One of which was I don't know what you want to call it. It was like a middle rope flip after the botched Hurricane Rana from the top rope. That one actually looks legitimate because it looks like Kenny Omega was, like I said, was stunned after he fell on his head. Like he might have gotten like nice little stinger or something like that. And Vikingo just took no break and just immediately went and did another move. While Omega is like, everybody's like, oh shit, Omega fell on his head. Vikingo was like, up, time for another spot. Let's just do another spot. I was like, well, okay. Look, I like El Hijo del Vikingo. He's tremendous in AAA. I like Bandito. I like Phoenix. I like Penta. I like these guys, but they're candy. You know, there's nothing substantive about them. You're not going to get a great emotional match or whatever. It's if you saw the Luchadors in WCW in '96, that's what this is. You know, it's just a little bit faster, a little bit more creative. That's just due to the passage of time. But Juventud Guerrera and Blitzkrieg and Rey Mysterio and all those guys, they were doing crazy stuff on WCW Worldwide in the middle of the day on a Saturday. Nobody cared, and basically it's the same thing. Like, to me, what AEW does is no different than what TNA used to do. You turn on to a random TNA pay-per-view and you see like Shocker is there. I'm like, what the hell is Shocker doing here? It's like, oh, they had a partnership with AAA. It's like, oh yeah. So they just brought in all the random AAA guys. And they brought in all the random New Japan guys. It's literally the same thing. Literally the same thing. So people who are getting real tight-assed about AEW, it's like, chill, please. You should already know the program by now. If you can't figure it out after 4 years, you're not a smart enough mark. All right? Just chill. All right, moving on. After the match, Kenny Omega cuts a promo saying as time goes by, he's concerned about his ability to do this kind of stuff, which this is the kind of match he said he don't think he can have, which is the run around in a circle until everyone goes splat kind of match. At this point, the Blackpool Combat Club attacked Kenny Omega, which pretty much gives away that they were the ones who attacked the Young Bucks. Hangman Page drove an ambulance back to the arena. Everybody stopped to wait for starters. They continued to stomp Kenny Omega because despite the fact that the ambulance has come up, he's way back there, so we don't have to worry about him. They stomping and kicking and beating up on Kenny Omega as Hangman Page is going to make the big save. Then they, I guess, got tired of beating up Kenny Omega because they just stopped. And then Hangman music played. He ran down to the ring. He had like a 2x4 with like nails in it. I was like, okay. Blackpool Combat Club, they bail. They run away. That's a good way to look at Babyface look strong, but I don't know why they be running from the Rhinestone Cowboy. Anyway, Don Callis comes into the ring. He's trying to help Kenny Omega up. He grabs Hangman. Hangman snatches away from him. Don Callis takes a bump and basically snitches that Hangman knocked him down. So Omega is now mad at Page, thinking that Page attacked him. So the storyline that we're going with is that Don Callis doesn't want the Elite to reunite. He wants Kenny Omega to be by himself. So it's an actual storyline that we have here. Now, noticing that it's an actual storyline, this also did give away who was behind the attack of the Elite. It's going to be Don Callis. Okay? This kind of goes back into the story of when, Kenny Omega was the best bout machine and him and Don Callis was being super queer on TV. What was this, 2 years ago when he was the belt collector and everything, and he had a picture of Omega and Don Callis in his house or something like that. So this kind of goes back to that. So this actually is long form storytelling because it's actually, the same characters playing strategizing in a different way. So I'm gonna give them credit for this. Thank you, Tony Khan, for actually trying to make this thing interesting. And you managed to do it while also doing your own thing. You do your popcorn match where everybody jumps all over the place, but you actually added in a storyline element. Now, you added the storyline element afterwards, but at least you added it. So thank you. I appreciate that. So, Vikingo, tremendous, but, as tremendous as he is, I'm telling you for a fact, if he was there every week, it wouldn't get the same pops. The pops would go down. It's just like Phoenix. After a year of seeing Phoenix do amazing things, is anybody really amazed by Phoenix anymore? That's why Phoenix isn't on TV anymore. So, where's Bandito? I don't know. Let's move on, because I spent like almost 20 minutes on Vikingo and stuff. All right. So now do we all know who Vikingo is? All right. Let's make sure that we're all on the same page. Do we know who Vikingo is? I know very well who you are. Never mind. Let's move on. First match, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, and Sting versus Kip Sabian, Butcher, and Blade. Jesus Christ. This match was based off of something that happened at their house show, their House Rules show. Pause. House Rules. Saw the clip of Anna Jay versus Britt Baker. Not going to lie to you folks. If I was the promoter and they had that match, it was a bumbling, fumbling mess. Literally, 2 children on a mattress could have had a better match than that. I wouldn't have paid them. I'm not even going to hold you up. I'd have said, for that, you would not get paid. You didn't work that. Okay? That was awful. That was so lacking in anything close to professionalism or talent, or it was embarrassing for both women involved. The crowd was humiliated having watched it, and they were dead quiet. And they were so humiliated that they took down a fan cam of it. They took it down. All right. I'm embarrassed for those girls. Anna Jay, I don't think there's nothing you could do about that. But Britt Baker certainly can do better. And it's been awful that, her first singles match in a long time was at a house show, and it was this thing. I feel bad for her. Not really. I don't really feel bad for her. She's kind of uppity, so. But the weird thing is, I think Charlotte had a bad match with Shotzi on SmackDown, and everybody was like, I can't believe anybody thinks that Charlotte is one of the best wrestlers in the business. She's having a terrible match with Shotzi. It's so bad. They were dead quiet when it comes to how bad that Britt Baker match was with Anna Jay. It was not good. Like I said, Shotzi, I love her to death because she's a good personality. I know she's got passion, but I'm not sure that this wrestling thing at a high level is for her. I know it's not for Anna Jay. If it is, then she needs to find a better training facility, or somebody needs to train her better, because she looked like shit on a stick. All right. And I'm not going to blame Britt Baker. Yes, as the veteran, you have to lead the match, but the other person has to be worth something. Like, I know a craftsman doesn't always blame his tools. If you play off key, you can't blame the guitar or the trumpet or whatever. But sometimes it is the guitar and it's the trumpet. All right. There's not much. Like, Anna Jay has 0 good matches. 0. So what did you think? Britt Baker was going to all of a sudden become Alundra Blaze? Like, she was all of a sudden going to become fucking Bull Nakano or Asuka or Io Shirai? No, she's Britt Baker. She can have good matches with people who can have good matches. She can't, pull a rabbit out of a fucking hat. She just can't do it. So, too bad. Anyway, moving on. This match sucked. For starters, Kip Sabian is wrestling Sting. Of all the people who did not get to wrestle Sting, Kip Sabian got to wrestle Sting. That offends me as a wrestling fan. That of all the people who got to wrestle Sting, especially at this stage of his career, there's a ton of people on this roster who could have benefited from working with Sting. Kip Sabian, Butcher, and Blade got to work with Sting. Now, he no-sold pretty much everything that occurred to him in this match, but it doesn't matter that much. Sting absolutely clobbered Kip Sabian with a lariat at one point. It was great. It was fantastic. I mean, ooh boy, that wasn't even a clothesline. That was a lariat. If you don't know the difference, you need to do some research, okay? There's a difference. A lariat runs into you. You run into a clothesline, okay? So after the match, Orange Cassidy and all of them win, of course. They showed Darby Allin staring at the Double or Nothing banner, and he's transfixed upon it, mouth slightly agape, like, oh. And then they showed a vignette of the various 4 pillars cutting bad promos again. Jungle Boy with the absolute passion of somebody drowning is, I don't know, man. Sammy Guevara, just being Sammy Guevara is an L. Just being in that skin of his is no good. I'm guessing that, well, there's no point in guessing. They pretty much said it, that it's going to end up being a 4 pillars match at Double or Nothing. MJF has basically put a challenge on them to get as many wins as they can first, to make them worthy. But I don't think there's anything you can do that's going to make these people worthy. These 3 guys just don't got it. Darby probably has a little bit of it, but these other dudes, nah, they ain't got it. It ain't working. All right. Now, Vikingo, great talent. Like I said before, his specialty is that he does flippity doodads, right? Why would you undercut him by putting other guys who do flippity doo-dahs on the undercard of his show? Well, because you're Tony Khan. So Top Flight wrestled the Guns. Top Flight does all the flippity doo-dahs, of course. They didn't do as many as they usually do, of course. The Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett jumped one of the Top Flight guys outside in the ring, leaving the other one alone, and the Guns win the match. So Top Flight is still feuding with the Kingdom. Apparently this is some bleed over from ROH, because I saw the card for ROH, and I'm pretty sure one of these Top Flight guys was wrestling Mike Bennett. Embarrassing. I I guess you need a career, you got to make money somehow, for Christ's sake. So after the match, FTR comes down to the ring. The Guns say nobody wants to see them. Nobody wants to hear about them because they're losers. And there's nothing that they have that they can offer the Guns to get a title shot. Interesting choice of words, considering they hadn't made any kind of offer yet. So I guess you could assume they were going to make an offer, but maybe you should let them make an offer first. So FTR goes through three options. One, that they will be banned from future title shots. The Guns are not interested. Two, they offered to split up. The Guns are not interested. The third is for FTR to quit AEW. And now the Guns are interested, and the Guns accepted that final offer and then promptly spit in FTR's face before running away. I don't like to spit. Don't like that. Not a big fan of the spitting. Men spitting on each other is not good. Just don't do it. There's quite a few things you probably shouldn't do in wrestling. I don't know, crawling around on the ground like a caterpillar with your hand covering your balls and you butt ass naked in the ring. Certainly not something you should be doing. Don't do that. It's weird, for starters. Anybody who is part of that deserves a nail through the head, but that's just neither here nor there. That didn't actually occur on an AEW show. If you know, you know. If you don't know, don't Google it. Second, don't spit. Spitting is gross. It's not good. Stop spitting. This is a work. Do not spit on people. All right, so FTR, their final challenge against the Guns. What do I think about this? Well, here's the thing. A lot of people are very into questioning what's going on with FTR. Are they staying or are they going? So instead of answering this question, they decide to sell you a match that's going to answer the question. So FTR put out that they've made a decision on their future. And this decision on their future is going to be kept secret because, their contracts aren't up until April. So they decided to put a match together. And this was smart booking by Tony Khan, where if you are interested, then you want to see this. Because if the Guns lose, then FTR is staying. If the Guns win, then FTR is leaving. So the answer to the question of what's going on with FTR and their contract will be actually had on the show. I'm impressed by that. Thank you very much. Smart booking by Tony Khan. Got to give him some credit for that. That being said, do you really think the Guns are going to be the ones who are going to retire FTR and they're going to go away because they lost to the Guns? If you're a Tony Khan and you have, the Young Bucks on the roster, you probably got some other type of tag team. I don't think the Guns are his favorite tag team. Let's put it like that. I don't think the Guns are the kind of tag team he would give that kind of push to. Now, I'm still going to leave open some option that it could happen, but I'm looking at the preponderance of the evidence and saying to myself, I'm pretty sure FTR is going to stay. I'm pretty sure they're going to stay. All right, moving on. Jade Cargill. So Jade Cargill and that loser-ass lawyer she hangs around with, I don't remember what his name is. They send a cease and desist letter to Taya Valkyrie, banning her from using the Jaded. And then Jade Cargill says she will deliver it herself on Rampage. And Taya Valkyrie will actually be wrestling on Rampage. So we don't get Taya Valkyrie in the ring on this show. She gets kicked to Rampage already. Huh. Big signing there, Tony. No exposure whatsoever. We're just going to put her on Rampage. Come on, man. Just I'm going to sign you to a contract, put you in a story with one of my top female wrestlers, but it's going to be on the B show. Congratulations. Good. I don't think Taya cares. I mean, shit. She's been doing jobs on every wrestling promotion she's been on for the past 2 weeks. She's lost in NWA. She lost in Impact. I'm currently, MLW is playing. I don't know whether she lost it yet. I will let you know by the time this show is over whether she lost on MLW too. But she's just been losing all over the world, so it doesn't matter that much. But you bring somebody in with all this fanfare, and then you kick her to the B show. Instead of putting her in the ring and introducing her to the audience. Look, again, we're not the audience, you know. The people who say, hey, you should probably put some effort into these debuts. Oh, no, the other people are saying, no, don't put any effort into your debuts. Just do things, and then we'll go out and do our own research, and we will be the ones, you know, promoting the show. That's the part that really kind of pissed me off with this whole thing. And some of the smarter people out there, they already know what's up. It's the promoter's job to make you interested in the show, not the other way around. It's not my job to do my own research on a wrestling show. I'm not doing homework to watch a wrestling show. I didn't do homework when I was supposed to do homework. I dropped out of high school because I didn't want to do homework. I don't want to do homework on a wrestling show. And I'm not gonna. You can't make me. So, if you are mildly interested in Taya Valkyrie, but you're not really sure who she is, guess what? You got to watch Rampage. And you're not going to learn anything about her from Rampage because she's just going to wrestle like nobody. Moving on, Stokely Hathaway got beat by Hook. This gave me the only bit of comedy for the evening, as Stokely Hathaway tried to retire before the match started. And as she said, he had a doctor's note, which turned out to be a Wingstop receipt. That was glorious. That part was good. I'm going to give him credit for that part. Stokely gets eaten alive by Hook. Hook has fallen off a cliff. Remember, he used to be one of the hottest guys in AEW. Then he spent 6 months on Rampage beating nobodies, being overprotected. And you get what you get right now. Apparently, he's still involved with the Firm. I don't care about the Firm. Nobody cares about the Firm. Why are they here? And Powerhouse Hobbs, Taya Valkyrie, and Penta El Zero Miedo, and Phoenix, and all them are on Rampage. Why don't we get these fucking guys? Since Hook was on Rampage already, supplant all of these fucking guys and move them back to Rampage where I don't have to see them, right? Just move your B-level, C-level, D-level talents, move them to the other shows. If you're going to have a third show, please do me a favor. Stokely Hathaway and his entire menagerie, take them along to this third show. Get them out of here. You know, kick rocks out of here. All right, Ricky Starks. He's frustrated with Juice Robinson. He's only had one conversation with the guy, and he's already frustrated by Juice Robinson. I concur. Just seeing Juice Robinson, just knowing Juice Robinson still breathes oxygen, somehow it makes me violently ill. But Ricky Starks is tired of Juice Robinson. Says that if Juice Robinson has a problem, he can find him on Rampage. Why is Ricky Starks on Rampage? Why does Ricky Starks get booted to Rampage, but Stokely Hathaway is on Dynamite? Why is this? Why is the Butcher and the Blade on Dynamite, but Ricky Starks, Taya Valkyrie, etc., is on Rampage? Come on. Toni Storm wrestled Sky Blue and defeated her. Toni Storm is hot. All right. Sky Blue is also quite hot. She's very cute. Sky Blue is as bland as possible. She has been in AEW for like a year, has had zero character development, has done nothing, and probably has only won matches on shows that I don't watch. So there was nothing about this that made me think that anything was going to happen other than what happened. And they basically forgot that they did this last week because almost exactly the same thing happened. Toni Storm won. Then, Saraya and Ruby helped by, attacking from behind and everything. So then Riho and Willow Nightingale chased off Toni Storm, Saraya, and Ruby Soho. Riho is carrying a pipe. And the way that the pipe is just dangling in her arms is making her whole body lean to one side. It's hilarious. And I don't know what's up with Riho, but she is so small that people legitimately think she's like a teenager. And I just found out she's 25. I'm like, what? Man. That is a skinny girl. She's puny. But they insist that she's a badass. So we're stuck with what we're stuck with when it comes to her. I mean, it is what it is, man. But this was stupid. Toni Storm doesn't really get too much heat from beating up on Sky Blue. I guess, the AEW fan base does love Sky Blue. And I see why. She got a nice little tush on her. I'm trying not to be too vulgar when it comes to this young lady. She's kind of young. But this match was far too long. And it was actually in slow motion. Like a lot of the women's matches nowadays. I don't know why that would be. Why? Why are the matches in slow motion? Why are you doing this? All right. QTV. Ooh. So Harley Cameron, hot chick in this thing. She said she wanted to recruit Ray Phoenix, but it was a joke. It was just a joke so they can mock the Lucha Brothers. Then Hobbs is going to have another open challenge match against Penta El Zero Miedo. And I was like, this is awful. Everything about this is terrible. Aaron Solo, is that Bailey's ex-boyfriend? Is that his name? Somebody told me last week that was his name. Apparently this guy was the guy who hacked Dave Meltzer's Twitter account and tweeted about hotels. And they thought this was the funniest thing in the world. I'm telling you, some people just don't have a good sense of humor. They have no comedic timing. Just there's something about them where humor escapes them. It's like they just don't have a funny bone. QT Marshall comes across as a guy who wouldn't know a joke if it fell in his lap. If he got it pregnant, he wouldn't know what it was. Okay? QT Marshall is one of the unfunniest, untalented wastes of human flesh I have ever seen. Why, oh why, wrestling gods, why is Hobbs tethered to this trash? He's trash. He's god-awful trash. Jesus Christ, he's trash. Oh, I forgot about a lot of stuff. I was about to end the show, but I was like, well, that's it. But apparently I missed a lot. All right. Okay, I got my papers all shuffled up. Okay, Adam Cole. So Adam Cole cuts a promo. Adam Cole says that we're 7 days away from his in-ring return. He feels great, but wonders who his opponent will be. Well, if we're wondering who his opponent will be. Daniel Garcia interrupted, and he is going to be Adam Cole's opponent. I'm going to skip through his promo, because it was a bunch of nothing. Basically, he said he's been beating top guys in main event in these shows. Then he says he's been proving himself to be one of the best sports entertainers. That was a nice little catch. I actually like that. Adam Cole says that, Daniel Garcia says he's a sports entertainer. What makes Adam Cole special? When they ring the bell, that makes me special. I was like, wow, so you're not special until a bell rings? That says a lot. Oh, Taya Valkyrie won. She beat Billy Starks. Oh, wow. I'm surprised. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about here? Okay. So, Adam Cole talks about liking that guy, Daniel Garcia. He likes him, but the general Cole appreciates society had made him overconfident. And he said he was sitting at home hoping for a second chance, and it looks like he found it. But this isn't just going to be a match. It's going to be a statement. One, to show to the locker room that one of the best pro wrestlers in the world is back. And I know he needs to have a warm-up opponent, and it needs to be somebody who's not going to do bump him to death. And so Daniel Garcia is actually not a terrible opponent. Daniel Garcia does a lot of in-ring grappling. a lot of takedowns, grabbing on the arm and wrist and stuff like that. So it's not going to be a high impact match, and from a let the guy loosen up a little bit, get back in the ring, get his feet under him. Daniel Garcia is not the worst opponent, he could have done worse in terms of opponents. He could have, picked somebody who's going to try to throw him over his head in a German suplex or something like that and fuck him up. Hopefully Daniel Garcia is smart enough. He's very young, but I'm pretty sure somebody's going to tell him, look, no slams, or at least avoid slamming as much as possible. Certainly no German suplexes, certainly no dragon suplexes or anything like that. So stick to submission-based wrestling, takedowns, arm bars, etc. And it should be okay. We should be able to get through this without Adam Cole falling into a million pieces. So I'm actually not angry that it's Daniel Garcia, because who else was it going to be? It certainly wasn't going to be a big superstar. It certainly wasn't going to be that. So, Daniel Garcia as a starter opponent is fine. I don't care. Now, Jon Moxley versus Stu Grayson. I didn't watch this. I didn't watch it because every time I looked up at the screen, Jon Moxley was on the ground and Stu Grayson was jumping on him. And I knew Stu Grayson wasn't going to win. So this was just a match where Jon Moxley breathed hard and fell onto the ground so Stu Grayson can empty the chamber, do everything he knows how to do, and Moxley still wins. So that's exactly what happened. Later, Jon Moxley attacked him while he was in the medical's office because he's a bad boy, if you ain't noticed. He's a bad man. He doesn't play by the rules anymore. The Blackpool Combat Club, they run this piece. You dig? We run this piece, you dig? We're heels now, bruh. Don't you get that? Why are you heels? Don't matter. Don't ask any questions. We're heels now. We doing us. So, it was a terrible show, by the way. It was an awful show. I had zero interest in 99% of the show. The only thing I had any interest in was Kenny Omega versus El Hijo de Vikingo because I knew who El Vikingo was. I'm going to keep saying it because I want people to realize I know who he is. But the whole time I was watching him, I just kept saying, where's Bandito? Where's Phoenix? You could have had other guys, that you actually have already signed who could have had almost this exact same fucking match with Kenny Omega. Maybe some of the moves would have been different because, Vikingo is unique in so much that he loves the 630, 450 variations of different moves. But there's nothing that he did in this match that, Phoenix probably couldn't have also done. So that's my knock on Vikingo, if anything, is you don't know who he is. They say he'll be back, but we'll see. We'll see if he actually comes back. But they've had some really good luchadors on AEW. They typically just don't do anything with them because they don't know how to use them. And they say WWE doesn't know how to use luchadors. So at least they sign them and try to do something with them, with the exception of Grand Metalik, who AEW then signed and threw into Ring of Honor. So there that go. Hopefully Dragon Lee can avoid that fiasco. The rest of the show was basura. For Christ's sake. Look, I might like looking at Tony Storm and Sky Blue. I have no interest in watching them wrestle. None. I have no interest at all, sexually or otherwise, in butchering the Blade. I don't even have any interest in watching their bodies get diced up. I don't care about these fucking guys. I want them to go away. Completely away. I don't even understand what purpose they serve. In my opinion, you should really just kind of launder your job guys. After about a year or two, most job guys, if you've seen all the things that they can do, just get rid of them, bring in more job guys. It's about that time to cycle these guys out and bring some new guys in. Even if they're just going to be job guys, let them go be stars somewhere in Impact or something. They fucking suck. Same thing with the Dark Order. I just don't understand why they're still around. But this show was awful. It was boring more than anything. But at least Vikingo and Kenny Omega was great. And at least they're trying to put together a story with Don Callis and the Elite, Hangman and the Elite. So that's two stories. I don't like Hangman, so I don't care about him. But I don't like Don Callis either. But at least I appreciate his storyline with Kenny Omega because I understand the history between the two. If you've been listening to Don Callis' promos and how he's raised Kenny Omega since he was 11 years old and all this kind of stuff, the two of them being on opposite sides, or Don Callis, getting in the way of what Kenny Omega wants to do, being a bad advisor. I'm actually interested in how that would turn out because Kenny Omega hasn't been without Don Callis in like 2 years. So I'm interested in how they would do that. Would they have Don Callis side with another wrestler? And Don Callis is going to be that wrestler's manager. He's going to call that guy the best bout machine. I would be interested in how that would work. Similar to, the Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar separation. And Paul Heyman was, helped. I think it was with CM Punk at the time, and Ryback and all those guys. Like it could be interesting from that perspective. Other than that, I don't care about Don Callis. I don't care about Don Callis. So, yeah. This show was a whole lot of not good. But next week promises to be more not good. Except this time it won't have Vikingo. So I don't know, man. I'll talk to you guys later. Do all the YouTube things. I appreciate everybody. Peace out.